So I got into I don't know how to call it really. I was on LinkedIn and I had somebody make a comment on a post and I replied because I'm really interested in AI. I think it's really interesting and I can see the effect it's having. And I acknowledge that even though it's clearly not perfect, and even Google says that hallucinations will happen, the fact is people are going to be tempted to do it because it's sold to them as an easy solution, even when it's not. And so the issue there is that even though it's not effective, and even though it's full of bugs, and even though half the time, or over half the time, it doesn't do what it claims to do, the fact is, lazy and stupid people will be drawn to it because they don't understand it, but to them, it looks like magic, right? So I understand that that is the case. And so I replied with some simple information and a link to a Google paper on hallucinations and the fact that, those things happen all the time in AI. And unfortunately, that's just extremely common. I had somebody who's claiming to be a recruiter and staffer reply that that was not how things worked. And unfortunately, they do not have a background in AI. They do not have a background in tech. They do not have a background in applicant tracking system code. They do not have a background in any of the things that we were talking about. And so, as a result of that, I let them know respectfully, hey, this is not the case. You are not an expert. In fact, because of how they have put their profile out there and the fact that they've actively refused to validate their identity in any way, I don't even know that they're a real person. And so I made it clear that, I'm willing to have a discussion about what I've seen and where I've worked and the things that I've done. And I'm happy to have the conversation that lets me show you, look, I am an expert. Uh, but you're going to actually have to be open to having a conversation and not just shouting to people online for that to happen. I find that in general, being willing to listen to people and to fully understand what they have to say leads to the better outcome than simply trying to listen to them in order to reply and respond. And so as a result of that, I'm always happy to have an in-depth conversation. My biggest problem is that it's often the case that people aren't willing to have those in-depth conversations because intelligence makes them uncomfortable. And so as a result of that, I have learned that my sincere desire to have in-depth conversations with other people will probably never be met with success because other people either don't have the intelligence to have those conversations or they simply are too scared of them in order to freely want to be a part of that. And so it's something that I fight every day as I try to connect with other people. And I actively try to build these connections with other people because at the end of the day, I'm still an introvert because society doesn't appreciate intelligence. And that sucks. And if you're like me and you're a smart person who actively wants to learn about the world and ask questions and not make the assumption that you know everything, and you want to be the dumbest person in the room, and you consider that to be an amazing opportunity to learn and grow from other people, then I'm sorry, because I know how that feels.